from power to collapse, the rise and fall of one of the most controversial figures of modern America, Charlie Kirk, 1993 to 2025. A name that once echoed through political rallies, media debates, and college campuses as the symbol of a new conservative generation, but that ended in a storm of scandals, betrayals, and shocking revelations that no one saw coming. Behind the confident speeches, the sharp rhetoric, and the millions of followers, there was a darker story, one built on obsession with power, internal conflicts, and decisions that would ultimately lead to his downfall. Charlie Kirk built an empire around his image, turning Turning Point USA into a powerhouse of political influence. But with fame came enemies, secrets, and dangerous alliances. Accusations of manipulation, leaked private messages, financial irregularities, and the alleged betrayal of those closest to him started to surface, tearing apart everything he had created. Some say it was ambition that consumed him. Others claim he became a victim of the very machine he helped build. What really happened between 2023 and 2025 remains one of the most shocking turns in recent political history. A man who seemed unstoppable, suddenly silenced in the most dramatic way possible. In this video, we're going deep into the untold story of Charlie Kirk, not just the public figure, but the man behind the spotlight, the conflicts, the mistakes, and the haunting events that led to his final collapse. But before we begin, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that like button. Your support tells YouTube that this kind of content matters, and it helps us keep bringing you deep, revealing stories that others won't dare to touch. Your subscription keeps this channel alive. And if you want to support us even more, hit the super thanks button. It's a direct way to help us grow and continue exposing the truth. If you can't, that's totally fine. Just leave a comment below telling us which part of Charlie Kirk's story shocked you the most. And stay until the very end, because the last revelation will leave you absolutely speechless, trust me. You don't want to miss it. Charles James Charlie Kirk was born on October 14th, 1993, in Arlington Heights, Illinois, and grew up in Prospect Heights in suburban Chicago, in a family that combined professional ambition and political leanings. His father, Robert W. Kirk, was an architect who reportedly participated in projects, including the construction of Trump Tower, and his mother, Catherine A. Smith, once worked as a mental health counselor after a stint as a trader at the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. Charlie had one sibling, a younger sister, Mary, who would follow a quieter, more private path. From a young age, he was shaped by conservative ideas. His parents were moderate Republicans, and young Charlie absorbed free market literature and conservative thinkers. In high school, he became politically active, writing for right-leaning outlets and questioning the ideological slant of school textbooks, which earned him early attention and a platform. Kirk enrolled in college for just one semester before dropping out to devote himself fully to political organizing. In 2012, at only about 18 or 19 years old, he co-founded Turning Point USA, TPUSA, together with Bill Montgomery, aiming to build a conservative student movement to counter liberal activism on campuses. That founding moment would mark the start of his rise. Under his leadership, TPUSA expanded to hundreds of campuses, developed affiliate arms, e.g. Turning Point Action, and positioned Kirk as a leading voice among young conservatives. Kirk's career was never without fierce controversy. He embraced and propagated Christian nationalism, opposed diversity, equity, and inclusion (DEI) programs, and publicly criticized civil rights legislation, including the Civil Rights Act of 1964. His remarks on race were often sharply divisive. He repeatedly denied systemic racism, disparaged white privilege, and over time amplified rhetoric about demographic change, immigration, and replacement theories. He was also accused by dozens of media and academic observers of spreading conspiracy theories, including false claims about the 2020 election, COVID-19 misinformation, and oversimplified ideology framed as cultural Marxism. On his podcast, The Charlie Kirk Show, and through his campus debates, Prove Me Wrong events, he courted viral confrontation, engineered moments that would provoke outrage, and sharpened his media presence. Analysts later described his rhetorical style as deliberately provocative and framed for social media virality. In his personal life, Charlie Kirk married Erica Frantzva, later Erica Kirk, in May 2021. Erica was a businesswoman and podcaster, and had once won the Miss Arizona USA pageant in 2012. The couple would have 2 children, a daughter born in August 2022 and a son born in May 2024. Over the years, Kirk amassed significant personal assets. His real estate portfolio included a $4.75 million estate in Scottsdale, Arizona, and a beachfront condominium on Florida's Gulf Coast purchased for about $855,000. Tapuza also gained massive financial backing after aligning more closely with Donald Trump from 2016 onward. Contributions to Turning Point reportedly surged, at one point exceeding $79 million. Despite his meteoric rise, his life ended in tragedy. On September 10, 2025, while speaking at a Prove Me Wrong debate event at Utah Valley University in Orem, Utah, Kirk was shot in the neck around 12:23 p.m. local time. The audience numbered around 3,000 attendees. He was transported to Timpanogos Regional Hospital in critical condition and was pronounced dead later that afternoon. The suspected shooter, 22-year-old Tyler Robinson, was arrested 2 days later and faced charges, including aggravated murder, felony firearm discharge, obstruction of justice, and witness tampering. Prosecutors revealed Robinson left a note stating intent to kill Kirk and later texted a confession to a partner. The killing ignited nationwide debate over political violence, free speech, and extremism in American politics. His death was condemned broadly, including voices from all sides calling for calm and reflection, but also became a flashpoint for competing narratives over whether Kirk was a martyr, a provocateur, or both. In October 2025, in a symbolic and politically charged act, President Donald Trump posthumously awarded Kirk the Presidential Medal of Freedom, delivered on what would have been his 32nd birthday. Flags were ordered to fly half-staff across U.S. federal buildings, and memorials were held nationwide. Kirk's legacy remains deeply polarizing. To supporters, he was a visionary youth leader who challenged academic and cultural orthodoxies. To critics, he was a dangerous ideologue who amplified division, exploited conspiracy, and weaponized culture war rhetoric. His assassination is often referenced as a tragic consequence of escalating political polarization and the murky boundaries between speech, ideology, and violence. Although Kirk never held elective office, he authored books such as Time for a Turning Point, Campus Battlefield, The MAGA Doctrine, and The College Scam. His writings often blended fundraising appeals, ideological manifestos, and attack lines against progressive institutions. By 2024, his podcast was downloaded hundreds of thousands of times daily, and his tour events were reshaping how political messaging engaged Generation Z. Yet many scholars criticized that his influence carried high costs, misleading claims, social division, and fueling outrage-driven politics rather than policy. Charlie Kirk's life was a whirlwind of ambition, ideology, and controversy. A story that rose from the suburbs of Chicago and grew into one of the most polarizing careers in modern American politics. Born in 1993 in Arlington Heights, Illinois, and raised in the comfortable but unremarkable community of Prospect Heights, Kirk came from a family that valued hard work and self-discipline. His father, Robert W. Kirk, worked as an architect and reportedly had a hand in major projects like Trump Tower, while his mother, Catherine, had been a trader before turning to mental health counseling. Charlie's childhood seemed ordinary on the surface, but even then, he showed a fascination with leadership and persuasion. Friends and teachers described him as confident, articulate, and unusually focused for his age. He was never content with following the crowd. He wanted to shape it. During his teenage years, Kirk became outspoken about politics, often arguing with teachers and classmates about government spending, free markets, and American values. He claimed that the education system was designed to make students think alike and believed that young conservatives had no real voice in schools. That belief became the spark for his life's mission. In 2012, when most of his peers were still figuring out college majors, he co-founded Turning Point USA, a nonprofit organization aimed at promoting conservative principles like free enterprise, limited government, and personal responsibility. With the mentorship of Bill Montgomery, a retired businessman who saw great potential in the young Kirk, Turning Point USA grew from a small idea into a powerful movement that reached thousands of campuses across America. Charlie became a familiar face at universities, not as a student, but as a crusader. He thrived on debate, confrontation, and the energy of controversy. Social media amplified his influence. Kirk understood the digital world better than most in his field. He turned his podcast, The Charlie Kirk Show, into a daily powerhouse, and his presence on platforms like Twitter and YouTube drew millions of followers. His speeches blended passion with provocation, often touching on issues like immigration, religion, race, and political correctness. Critics called him manipulative and inflammatory. Supporters called him fearless and unapologetically honest. As his fame grew, so did his network. By his mid-20s, Charlie was working closely with top Republican figures, including Donald Trump. He became a regular voice on Fox News, and Turning Point's funding skyrocketed into the tens of millions. Lavish events, celebrity endorsements, and the founding of affiliate groups like Turning Point Action turned Kirk into one of the most influential conservative voices of his generation. Yet behind the confident image, there were cracks. Those who worked closely with him described a man driven by pressure, constantly trying to outdo his past achievements and guard his reputation against a relentless wave of criticism. He was both admired and attacked daily, and that intensity began to take its toll. His private life was more grounded. In 2021, he married Erica Franceva, a former Miss Arizona and a devout Christian businesswoman. They seemed like a power couple, united by faith and purpose. They welcomed their first child in 2022 and the second in 2024. In public, Charlie portrayed himself as a devoted husband and father, sharing photos of family life alongside political messages. But even as his personal life appeared stable, his public image grew more divisive. Many accused him of spreading misinformation about the 2020 election, downplaying COVID-19, and pushing extremist narratives. Others saw him as a victim of cancel culture, a man unfairly punished for saying what many were afraid to express. The reality was complex. Kirk thrived in controversy, yet it also isolated him. In 2025, tragedy struck in the most public and horrifying way possible. During a Prove Me Wrong debate at Utah Valley University, Charlie Kirk was shot by a 22-year-old assailant while addressing a crowd of thousands. The scene was chaotic and surreal. Moments before, he had been arguing passionately about free speech. Seconds later, panic erupted. He was rushed to a nearby hospital, but did not survive. The news spread instantly across the world. Charlie Kirk, dead at 31. Reactions poured in from every corner of the political spectrum. Some mourned him as a martyr of free expression, claiming his death symbolized how divided and intolerant society had become. Others viewed it as the grim consequence of a culture that thrives on outrage and hostility. Vigils were held in cities across the United States, and social media exploded with both grief and bitter argument. The investigation revealed that the shooter had acted alone, motivated by hatred toward Kirk's political ideology. The act reignited debates about political violence, freedom of speech, and the dangers of online radicalization. In death, Kirk became larger than life, his story shifting from that of a provocateur to that of a symbol, depending on who was telling it. In October 2025, 1 month after his assassination, President Donald Trump awarded him the Presidential Medal of Freedom posthumously, calling him a warrior for American values. Flags were flown at half-staff across federal buildings, and Turning Point USA held a massive memorial service attended by thousands of students and political figures. Erica, his widow, stood before the crowd holding their infant son and spoke about forgiveness, faith, and legacy. Despite the honors, controversy followed even after death. Critics questioned the glorification of a figure whose rhetoric had often divided Americans, while supporters saw the criticism as yet another attempt to silence him. In the end, Charlie Kirk's story was not just about politics. It was about the fragile line between influence and obsession, conviction and extremism. He was a product of his time and era defined by social media battles, ideological warfare, and a generation struggling to find truth in a flood of information. His life mirrored the very tension he spoke about, the belief that culture is a battlefield, that every idea must be fought for, and that words themselves could be weapons. His assassination served as a grim reminder that those words can also ignite real violence. Whether remembered as a hero or a cautionary tale, Charlie Kirk's journey from suburban dreamer to national lightning rod, and finally to tragic victim, will forever be tied to the era of deep political division he helped define. His story shows how quickly influence can become vulnerability, how fame can become danger, and how the pursuit of power can lead to both triumph and destruction. Charlie Kirk lived loudly, fought fiercely, and died in the same spotlight he had built for himself, a symbol of how high conviction can soar, and how tragically it can fall when the world around it turns to chaos. And now that we've reached the end of the shocking story, it's hard not to wonder, how does someone rise so high, command so much influence, and then lose everything in such a dramatic and devastating way? Charlie Kirk's journey from political prodigy to tragic collapse is one of those tales that exposes the hidden side of power, the pressure, the manipulation, the greed, and the secrets that even the most loyal followers never knew. Behind the speeches, the rallies, and the headlines, there was a man consumed by ambition and surrounded by controversy. From the accusations of corruption and internal betrayal to the mysterious circumstances surrounding his final days in 2025, nothing about his downfall was ordinary. Some say it was political revenge. Others believe it was his own demons catching up to him. But one thing is certain: the story of Charlie Kirk will be remembered as a warning that fame and power come with a price, and that when the cameras turn off, the truth often reveals a far darker reality. Before you go, don't forget to hit subscribe and leave a like, because that's what keeps this channel alive and tells YouTube that our investigations and deep dives matter. Your support allows us to keep uncovering the stories others won't dare to tell. And if you want to take your support to the next level, tap that super thanks. It's a simple way to help us continue producing this kind of bold and revealing content. But if you can't, no worries, just drop a comment below and tell us what shocked you the most about Charlie Kirk's fall. Was it the political betrayals, the financial scandals, or the tragic way it all ended? Every comment helps this community grow and keeps the truth alive. And stay tuned, because in the next video, we'll uncover another story that's even darker, more controversial, and more unexpected than this one. The final twist will leave you speechless. You won't believe who's next.